Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is Explanation of Battle Through the Heavens episode number 120 based on novel. So let's start. Xiao Yang's hand seal was choppy and slow. He appeared like someone who had just learned it. While his hand seals were being formed, the majestic spiritual strength that permeated around him was swiftly gathered. An invisible spiritual palm print vaguely formed around his palm. However, this palm print being formed was a little illusionary when compared to Cao Ying's. Cao Ying's eyes were shocked as she stared at the hand seal, which Xiao Yang was unfamiliar with. It was as though a great storm was churning in her heart. She had never expected Xiao Yang to remember all of her hand seals in his mind within this short instant. Of course, the thing that caused her to feel the greatest disbelief was that Xiao Yang had not only memorized the changing hand seals, but he was also able to use them after just seeing them. When Cao Ying had come into contact with this soul skill for the first time, she had practiced it for a long while before she was able to gradually understand the combination method between the spiritual strength and the finger seals. However, at this moment, Xiao Yang was able to do this after a short few minutes. This kind of thing, even she, who was said to possess demonic talent, could not help but feel shocked. Of course, this did not mean that Xiao Yang's talent far exceeded that of Cao Ying's talent. After all, his spiritual strength had already been displayed until the pinnacle during these years of training. This spiritual handprint that Cao Ying had displayed was not a very high-class soul skill. Hence, Xiao Yang being able to fiddle around and grasp some of its tricks was not something difficult to understand. Xiao Yang had already established an incomparably firm foundation for basic things. As long as he was given some opportunity, the difficulty he would experience while mastering a soul skill would be many times easier than that of an ordinary person. These things were all things that Cao Ying was unaware of. It was due to this that she still felt incomparably shocked upon seeing this scene. The huge spiritual storm quickly became larger in Xiao Yang's eyes. As the spiritual pressure neared, Xiao Yang's quick and choppy hand motions became more smooth and the changes in his finger started to seem like he was almost done. Xiao Yang's eyes were staring firmly at the spiritual storm that was rushing over. An instant later, his changing hand seals suddenly paused. A low, deep cry erupted from his throat. The cry was just like thunder. After which, his mysterious palm print was heavily pushed forward. The sharp sound of whistling wind suddenly resonated within the large hall after the palm was pushed out. That invisible palm imprint carried some permeating spiritual strength as it collided with that spiritual storm in front of the anxious eyes within the large hall. Bang! The two collided and a low, deep explosion immediately resounded over the interior of the large hall. The souls of quite a number of people emitted a piercing pain at this moment. Crash! Invisible spiritual ripples swept out from the point of collision and spread over the stone floor of the arena. At this moment, the floor was completely shattered into a cluster of powder. Dust flew in all directions, causing the visibility of the large hall to be significantly reduced. The raging spiritual storm continued for nearly 1 minute or so before it slowly disappeared. At this moment, those miserable human figures were finally able to stand up. After which, numerous eyes instantly turned to the arena that had been destroyed and was completely different now. Dust gradually settled on the arena. The scene within was absorbed by the eyes of everyone in the hall. Xiao Yang was seated on a rock platform that was less than 1 meter in radius. There were a couple of bottomless holes in front of him. At this moment, his sleeves were completely tattered. His appearance was a little miserable. The area within a 30-foot radius around Cao Ying, who was in front of Xiao Yang, was fine. Even the clothes on her body still appeared clean. However, the current her revealed a solemn expression. Her eyes were unblinking as she stared at Xiao Yang across from her. From the appearance of the two, it was obvious that Xiao Yang was at a disadvantage. Elder Cheng, who had already withdrew into the distance, finally sighed in relief after seeing that the fight between the two of them had come to an end. After which, he drifted over. His eyes looked all around him as he involuntarily shook his head with a bitter smile. These two people were really destructive maniacs. 3 palms are up. You have one. Cao Ying gently sighed. She elegantly stood up and softly informed him. Xiao Yang slightly smiled when he heard her words. He stood up, coincidentally revealing the red line behind him. He had received all of her 3 palms and was not sent out of the red circle. According to the rules, he had won this match. Cao Ying's words had just sounded when the interior of the large hall immediately became much quieter. The expressions of those members of the Cao clan had become a lot stiffer. They had never expected Cao Ying to lose. This bastard is really lucky. Cao Dan's face was green as he softly cursed. Xiao Yang is not an ordinary person. Other than Cao Ying, none of the members of the younger generation within the Cao clan could contend with him. Cao Xiu faintly continued. This is only the initial exchange. If they meet during the pill gathering, Xiao Yang might not be able to beat Cao Ying. Cao Dan's expression became uglier upon hearing Cao Xiu words. He had once exchanged blows with Xiao Yang. Back then, Xiao Yang might have been very strong, but he had definitely not reached this current level. Clearly, during these short few months, the other party was swiftly improving. However, this improvement speed was really a little too shocking. The silence within the interior of the large hall continued for a moment before it was broken by waves of soft, surprised gasps. It was the first time that they had seen Cao Ying admitting defeat in front of someone from the same generation during all these years. The name Cao Ying was really too well known within the Pill region, the title of which contained a reputation under her fierce and incomparable ability. It was indeed very difficult to find someone from the same generation who was comparable to her. Yi Zhong and Xin Lan in the Yi clan's seats revealed faces that were filled with shock and excitement because Xiao Yang's result. Xiao Yang had submitted a perfect answer sheet during this test that caused even them to feel disbelief. First in all 3 sections. This result was likely something that the Yi clan had only obtained during its peak. The Yi clan is saved. The little fairy doctor and Tianhua Zunjia also smiled after seeing the excitement-filled faces of those two. Her pretty eyes immediately slid to the skinny back in the arena. He had never disappointed anyone from the start. No matter who his opponent was, he never lost his confidence. It was this kind of confidence, filled with vitality, that enabled Xiao Yang to be filled with an exceptionally alluring charm. A person must ultimately believe in oneself in order to obtain true success. Miss Cao Ying, thank you for going easy on me. If you were to really attack with another palm, I might no longer possess the ability to receive it. Xiao Yang randomly tore off the tattered parts of his sleeves in the arena. After which, he cupped his hands to Cao Ying and laughed in a clear voice. You are thinking of secretly learning this spiritual handprint of mine, right? Cao Ying spoke in a half-smiling manner while she lifted her pretty eyes after seeing Xiao Yang's free and easygoing manner. Xiao Yang was involuntarily a little embarrassed upon hearing Cao Ying's straightforward. This spiritual handprint was not very difficult to learn. It was likely not a very high-class soul skill. However, for him, who had never practiced a soul skill, it was undoubtedly a rare treasure one would have a difficult time finding even if one had a vast amount of gold. Cao Ying covered her mouth and laughed when she saw Xiao Yang's embarrassment. She gently shifted her footsteps and walked to his side. Her watery eyes stared at Xiao Yang's face as she cunningly laughed. If Mr. Xiao Yang has the time, we might perhaps be able to privately have an exchange. I also know some other soul skills. It will depend on whether you have the ability to secretly learn them. A faint fragrance came flying over. Xiao Yang looked at the bewitching face that was within close proximity. A ripple rose within his heart along with some caution. His face was expressionless as he smiled and said, if I have the time, I will definitely find Miss Cao Ying to spar. Although he had luckily won this fight, Xiao Yang understood that this was a warm-up for a witch like Cao Ying. After this exchange, Xiao Yang clearly understood that this witch from the Cao clan was indeed not an ordinary person. She definitely possessed the ability to fight for the top 3 spots during this pill gathering. This was because Xiao Yang could sense that Cao Ying had never truly used all her strength since the beginning. This time around, he relied a little on his luck in order to secretly learn the spiritual handprint Cao Ying had displayed. Moreover, Cao Ying would naturally not share all of the soul skills she practiced with him as she had said. With what happened this time around, she would definitely prevent such a thing from happening again when she sparred with Xiao Yang in the future. Therefore, Xiao Yang could just imagine attempting to secretly learn those soul skills. Based on Xiao Yang's guesses, this witch was likely a little displeased at having suffered a small loss this time around. Therefore, she wanted to find a chance to get back at him. Cao Ying was unconcerned when she saw Xiao Yang's vague reply. After this contact, she had gained a simple understanding of Xiao Yang's character that completely ignored what others said. She understood that the person in front of her would not easily fall for her beauty like the other men. However, everything must be like this in order to be somewhat challenging, no? The pill gathering is about to begin. Hopefully, I will be able to meet you there. I know, earlier, you also held back. Cao Ying's pretty eyes meaningfully studied Xiao Yang. After which, the corner of her mouth was lifted into an arc that was filled with temptation. She immediately turned around and walked out of the large hall, leaving Xiao Yang with the sight of a lazy yet haughty figure. Xiao Yang looked at that figure and gently sighed. This woman was not easy to deal with. Everyone within the hall watched as Cao Ying led the members of the Cao clan out of the hall. They faced each other and quietly sighed. No one had expected such a dark horse to suddenly appear in this 5 great clan test. Even Cao Ying from the Cao clan could not suppress him. Some people did not wish to stay for long after the test ended. Hence, they began to turn around and leave one after another. Some of the factions which had some relationship with the Yi clan in the past also began to greet Yi Zhong at this moment. Although the Yi clan had declined, they had managed to keep their position within the 5 great clans. In the future, they would also maintain an elder's seat. Their position might not be comparable to the Cao clan, but it was not something that an ordinary faction could compare with. Yi Zhong smiled in the face of the greetings by these people. The Yi clan might have some time to breath during this period of time, but they did not have the capital to be arrogant. After experiencing days of decline and desperation, Yi Zhong clearly knew what words to say that would be beneficial to the Yi clan in the future. Xiao Yang randomly replaced the clothes on his upper body. After which, he slowly walked to the Yi clan's seats and smiled at Yi Zhong and the others. Big brother Xiao Yang, are you alright? Xin Lan hurriedly inquired after seeing Xiao Yang walk over. Xiao Yang grinned and waved his hand. He was just about to speak when his eyes slid. He saw the Dan clan walking toward them with Dan Xian at the front. Greetings to Elder Yi Zhong. Dan Xian cupped his hands to Yi Zhong before swinging his head to Xiao Yang. He smiled and said, "Cuckoo, Mr. Xiao Yang really surprises others. It is unexpected that even Cao Ying is unable to deal with you." Xiao Yang had a good impression of Dan Xian. He and Cao Xiu were the same in that they were people who would accept their loss and would not act like Bai Ying. Hence, after seeing Dan Xian taking the initiative to congratulate him, Xiao Yang also smiled as he said, "You have witnessed my awkwardness, humble phase." She had yet to use her full strength. Otherwise, I would not have been able to endure her attacks. While he spoke, Xiao Yang's eyes involuntarily slid to the young lady behind Dan Xian. At this moment, she was staring at him out of curiosity. A bright redness immediately surfaced on her face when she saw Xiao Yang looking over. She immediately shrank her head like an ostrich and hid behind Dan Xian. "This is my younger cousin's sister. She doesn't really like people she is unfamiliar with," Dan Xian spoke apologetically. Xiao Yang smiled and shook his head. He had come into contact with this young lady before and knew that there was something strange about her. Moreover, from the way Cao Ying had looked at her earlier, it was obvious that this young lady was someone who did not reveal her true strength. However, Xiao Yang felt surprised that he was unable to sense Dan Chen's spiritual fluctuation. "Mr. Xiao Yang, if you have free time in the future, you can come to the Dan Manor within Holy Pill City. At that time, I will definitely share a hearty drink with you." At this moment, the large hall was in a mess and Dan Xian was unwilling to stay for long. After chatting a little with Xiao Yang, he smiled, cupped his hands together, and gave his goodbye. Xiao Yang's eyes sent Dan Yuan's group out of the large hall. Only then did he turn his head to Yi Zhong's group and shrug his shoulders. This was the good thing about displaying one's strength. It allowed one to be held in high regard by the others. "Since the test is over, we should also leave." Xiao Yang stretched his lazily waist and laughed. "Wait," a voice suddenly sounded behind Xiao Yang after he uttered those words. Xiao Yang turned his head around with some uncertainty, only to see Elder Cheng hurrying over with a face full of smiles. "Elder Cheng, is there a matter?" Xiao Yang did not dare to slight Elder Cheng as he hurriedly asked with a smile. Elder Cheng smiled and fondled his beard. He first turned his eyes to Yi Zhong and sighed. "Yi Zhong, congratulations. You have retained your position in the 5 great clans. This is all thanks to Elder Cheng helping us deal with the situation. The Yi clan will firmly remember this great favor." Yi Zhong bitterly smiled as he replied. Elder Cheng waved his hand. His eyes landed on Xiao Yang as he commented with a smile, "However, your Yi clan has really found an outstanding helper this time around. You are called Xiao Yang, right?" Xiao Yang smiled and nodded. "I have heard of your matter with the Ice River Valley. Yarrow Chen is your teacher, right?" Elder Cheng smiled as he inquired. Xiao Yang's eyes turned slightly cold. Before he could reply, Elder Cheng waved his hand and laughed. "There is no need to be so anxious. If we are to talk about it, even the old me received Yarrow Chen's advice back then." Xiao Yang's heart relaxed a little. He hesitated for a moment and decided not to hide who his teacher was. After which, he slowly nodded his head. That old fellow's eyesight is still that sharp, how envious." Elder Cheng sighed. His tone contained an envy that could not be hidden. Xiao Yang could only smile at these words. "The reason you have come to the pill region this time around should be because of the pill gathering, right?" Elder Cheng changed the topic and suddenly asked. Xiao Yang did not hide anything regarding this. He immediately nodded. "The pill gathering is about to begin, however, I am hoping for you will come with me to the pill tower before then. Perhaps it might be helpful for you." Elder Cheng fondled his beard and suggested in a serious manner. Xiao Yang was a little startled when he heard his words. He asked with some hesitation, "Go to the pill tower?" Xiao Yang had always adopted a fearful and respectful attitude toward the pill tower. This large being was able to rank alongside the Hall of Souls. It was likely that its strength was extremely terrifying. "I think that the association head and the others would be interested to meet you. Meeting them would not be detrimental to you," Elder Cheng solemnly explained after having sensed Xiao Yang's hesitation. Association head. Xiao Yang's heart pounded. A person addressed like this by Elder Cheng, who was one of the 8 great elders of the pill tower. Who else could it be other than the 3 mysterious heads of the pill tower? "From what I witnessed, it seemed that you were extremely interested in Cao Ying's spiritual handprint." "Her spiritual handprint was learned from the pill tower," Elder Cheng laughed. His voice was tempting. The temptation was not useless. Xiao Yang's eyes turned to Elder Cheng almost immediately. He mused for a moment before slowly nodding. With the strength and position of the pill tower, There was no need for them to play any tricks if they wanted to harm him. Hence, it should be alright to accept. Cuckoo, let's agree on this matter. I will personally head to the Yi Manor to bring you to the Pill Tower in a couple of days. Elder Cheng finally smiled and replied after seeing Xiao Yang nod. Xiao Yang grinned and nodded again after hearing the elder's words. He chatted for a moment longer with Elder Cheng before leaving the large hall with Yi Zhong and the rest. The smile on Elder Cheng's face was slowly withdrawn as he watched Xiao Yang's back disappear into the distance. He muttered, from what the association head had said, the Hall of Souls will dispatch some people to participate in this pill gathering. This 3,000 burning flames must not land in their hands. Therefore, all the Pill Tower could do was try its best to search for some trustworthy people with skills to beat the Hall of Souls. The test of the 5 great clans was considered quite a grand event within the Holy Pill City. Quite a number of factions were paying attention to the outcomes. Hence, soon after the test was over, what had happened within the large hall appeared to have grown wings as the news spread. The Yi clan had obtained the top position. This information was like a heavy bomb to the factions and people waiting for the humiliation of the Yi clan. Many people had even been discussing whether or not the Yi clan was qualified to retain its position among the 5 great clans. However, this sudden information seemed to have given them a ruthless slap, causing many people to fill with disbelief. After the information began to spread and become clearer, some of the people understood the reason for this matter. All of this was due to a young man named Xiao Yang. Hence, within a short few days, Xiao Yang had become a hot topic within Holy Pill City. Many people were extremely interested in him. A dark horse comparable to Cao Ying had suddenly appeared. While the outside world had turned into an uproar over this matter, Xiao Yang had begun to keep an extremely low profile. He seldom left the Yi Manor, choosing to stay within it all day. He quietly practiced the spiritual handprint he had secretly learned from Cao Ying. Time slowly flowed by amid this quiet training of his. The start of the pill gathering approached following the flow of time. With this approaching pill gathering, a massive crowd began to flood into Holy Pill City. Almost every part of this spacious area was filled with a countless number of human figures. Some of the inns and hotels in the city were completely full. This region had become the place where a countless number of gazes in the Central Plains region gathered. Xiao Yang was seated on a stone chair with his eyes shut in a quiet courtyard deep within the Yi Manor. Both of his hands were forming numerous mysterious hand seals at a very slow rate. If one were to carefully observe, one would discover that these hand seals formed the spiritual handprint Xiao Yang had secretly learned from Cao Ying back then. Although Xiao Yang was considered slow at using these hand seals, he no longer looked as unfamiliar with them as he had back then. Moreover, with the change of his hand seal, the spiritual strength between his eyebrows would automatically spread out. Immediately, it orbited the seals in a unique way. The change in the hand seals continued for around 10 minutes or so before it slowly stopped. Xiao Yang's eyes were slowly opened. A turbid air was gently released from his throat. The turbid air left Xiao Yang's body. Xiao Yang slowly stood up and placed both of his hands behind him. After which, he turned his body, and his dark black eyes stared at an empty space within the courtyard. He faintly asked, "Since you are here, why are you still hiding yourself? You are indeed worthy of being that old fellow Yarrow Chen's disciple. Your perception is quite good." A slight fluctuation immediately materialized from that empty space after Xiao Yang's voice sounded. Soon after, a human figure wrapped in a black robe slowly surfaced from the distorted space. Xiao Yang's eyes stared at the unwelcome guest. He could sense a familiar feeling from the other party. Someone from the Hall of Souls? Xiao Yang's tone was icy as he suddenly asked. "Cuckoo, I have heard that the bone-chilling flame of that old fellow Yarrow Chen is with you. I am here to borrow it." The black-robed human figure laughed. A deep blue flame slowly rose from his body after his voice sounded. Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly narrowed when he saw the deep blue flame. Sea heart flame. The deep blue-colored flame appeared extremely mysterious. The flame was like transparent sea water that slowly spread apart as it rose. Its faint ripple was just like ripples of water. The glazed lotus heart flame within Xiao Yang's body fluctuated the moment this deep blue flame appeared. He was not unfamiliar with this kind of fluctuation because every time a heavenly flame met another heavenly flame, both flames would form this kind of special fluctuation. Moreover, Xiao Yang was also familiar with this deep blue flame. He had seen it on Han Feng's body back then. Sea heart flame, a heavenly flame ranked 15th on the heavenly flame ranking. Xiao Yang's eyes stared at the deep blue flame on the black-robed person's body. A moment later, his voice was a little deep as he asked, "Han Feng's sea heart flame?" Back when Han Feng had reappeared after having been rescued by the people from the Hall of Souls, he had lost this sea heart flame. From what he had said, it had been taken away by the Hall of Souls. Now, this person, who had suddenly appeared in front of him, was a member of the Hall of Souls. It was obvious that this heavenly flame was the sea heart flame that Han Feng had lost. "Your eyesight is not bad." The black-robed person did not deny this as he faintly laughed. Under his black robes, his glowing eyes stared at Xiao Yang in a somewhat heated manner. He said, "I know that you possess more than one heavenly flame in your body. The reason I have come to look for you this time around is not to capture you and bring you back to the Hall of Souls. That is something for the others to do. My ultimate aim is the Qi method you practice. The Qi method that allows heavenly flames to merge with each other A killing intent that was difficult to suppress suddenly rose within Xiao Yang's heart as he sensed the searing hot eyes under the black robes. Flame mantra was his greatest secret. Anyone who dared desire it needed to be killed. This is Holy Pill City. The limbs of the Hall of Souls really reach far. Xiao Yang laughed in a cold and dense manner. The do qi within his body appeared like floodwaters as it whizzed and surged forward. His entire body remained in an extremely cautious state. In order for this black-robed person to appear in this place in such a quiet manner, that person's strength must be terrifying. At the very least, Xiao Yang sensed a dangerous aura from the other party that required him to treat this person seriously. That qi method is something that I had gotten my hands on first. However, that old fellow Yarrow Chen used a despicable method to snatch it from me. I am currently only taking back the thing that belongs to me. The black-robed man softly laughed. He raised his head slightly. With the help of the moonlight, one was able to see a little of the man's pale chin. Xiao Yang's eyes immediately focused when he heard this man's words. He knew the flame mantra was something that Yarrow Larrow had found from damaged ruins back then. Moreover, it was rumored that countless numbers of experts had been attracted to the ruins. Although Xiao Yang did not personally witness what happened, he could guess that an intense battle had to have erupted for the things that remained. I know that there are 2 elite dozuns within this place. However, I have already used a spiritual lock in this small courtyard. They will not be able to discover anything for some time. The black-robed person moved his sleeve and a shriveled hand that seemed to be nothing but skin on bone slowly extended from his sleeves. He clenched his hand and a cluster of deep blue flames was swiftly formed into something like a ball. Hand over the qi method and I will spare your life tonight. Xiao Yang coldly laughed. A silver glow flashed under his feet, and he appeared on the wall of the small courtyard. A jade-green flame surged out and smashed into the invisible barrier on the wall. Bang! A low, deep sound appeared. Xiao Yang's punch was unable to break the invisible barrier. All it did was cause some ripples to appear. Stubborn fellow. Do you think that you are Yarrow Chen? The black-robed figure's voice had become cold when he saw what Xiao Yang attempted. He randomly waved his sleeves and the deep blue flame swiftly agglomerated into a blue-colored fire spear. With a swing, the spear cut through the empty air, transforming into a blue shadow that shot towards Xiao Yang with a sharpness. Xiao Yang's expression was ice-cold. His body shook and the sound of thunder appeared. His body disappeared from the spot almost instantly and dodged the blue-colored fire spear. See restraining net. The hand of the black-robed person suddenly grabbed at the empty space behind him after Xiao Yang's figure disappeared. Numerous deep blue fire lines shot from his 5 fingers. They swiftly intertwined with each other to form a fire net, which wrapped around the empty air. An enormous heavy ruler suddenly hacked down and appeared where the fire net had rushed over. It continued down with great might and ruthlessly slammed into the deep blue-colored fire net. The glazed lotus heart flame collided with the sea heart flame and a sizzling sound immediately erupted. The 2 types of heavenly flames began to wildly corrode each other. Break. Xiao Yang's eyes turned chilly during the erosion. The jade-green flame suddenly erupted and violently danced, forcefully splitting apart the deep blue fire net. Xiao Yang's body swiftly pulled back. While he did so, the jade-green flame on his hand was split into 2, transforming into the green lotus core flame and the fallen heart flame. After which, they merged once again. Within a short few breaths' time, an exquisite jade-green fire lotus appeared. With Xiao Yang's current strength, creating this fire lotus by merging of 2 flames had already reached the point where it was easy as he please. Xiao Yang flicked his finger after the fire lotus was formed. It carried a beautiful fire tail as it rushed toward the black-robed person. Xiao Yang waved his hand after the fire lotus rushed over. The earth demon puppet appeared. Under Xiao Yang's order, the puppet charged at the black-robed person without any fear of death. At the same time, Xiao Yang's body once again pulled back and appeared by the invisible barrier. Both of his fists appeared like a storm as they swiftly landed on the barrier. This caused the spiritual lock to continuously form ripples. Not a bad do technique. It is able to merge heavenly flames. Looks like that qi method has been beneficial to you. The black-robed person smiled in a dense manner. The deep blue flame, that adhered to his 10 fingers, swiftly moved in the space in front of him. Immediately, a cluster of deep blue flames agglomerated into the shape of a fireball. After which, the fireball split to form a fissure that swallowed the jade-green fire lotus. The deep blue-colored fireball had just swallowed the jade-green flame when an unusually powerful explosion materialized within it. The fireball exploded apart. Jade-green flames shot in all directions, destroying the tidy, small courtyard and turning it into complete chaos. The jade-green flame was around 5 feet from the black-robed person when the sea heart flame automatically launched an attack, reflecting it away. Hence, this angry Buddha lotus flame failed to cause even the slightest harm to the black-robed person. From this, one could tell just how terrifying the strength of the black-robed person was. The black-robed person flicked his finger after blocking the attack of the fire lotus. Over a dozen deep blue fire lines shot from the tip of his finger. After which, they firmly trapped the earth demon puppet that had rushed over. It was unable to break the entanglement of the fire ropes regardless of how it struggled. With your strength, you are still unable to break the spiritual lock that I have placed. The black-robed person faintly spoke. He looked at Xiao Yang, who was using his strength to attack the spiritual lock, with indifferent eyes after easily resolving the fire lotus and the earth demon puppet. Bang! Xiao Yang's fist violently smashed against the barrier. His expression became uglier as he looked at the spreading ripple. It was unexpected that this mysterious, black-robed person was actually this strong. Based on his guess, the strength of this person had likely reached a 3-star or even a 4-star dozan. Although Xiao Yang's expression was a little ugly, he did not lose focus. This black-robed person might be strong, but Xiao Yang was not some persimmon that anyone could randomly need. I do not have much time. If you continue to remain stubborn, you should not blame me for killing you. The black-robed man's eyes were indifferent as they stared at Xiao Yang. He gently stepped through empty air and slowly took one step at a time towards Xiao Yang. This was Holy Pill City. His actions must not be made known to others. Otherwise, if those people from the Pill Tower were to discover them, things would definitely be quite troublesome. Xiao Yang's expression became ice-cold as he glared at the black-robed figure slowly walking over. He flicked his finger and a wisp of jade-green flame shot onto the earth demon puppet a short distance away, blasting apart the fire ropes binding its body. The earth demon puppet's body moved after it was freed. It rushed in front of Xiao Yang and stood before him like a metal tower. Xiao Yang widened his mouth after rescuing the earth demon puppet. A jade-green flame was spat out before splitting into the green lotus core flame and the fallen heart flame. He rubbed the dark black ring on his finger and a dense white bone-chilling flame appeared. Ha, 3 types of heavenly flame? Not bad, not bad. The rumors are indeed true. Looks like I will gain a lot this time around. The black-robed person was a little surprised when he saw the 3 clusters of heavenly flames in front of Xiao Yang. He immediately let out a loud laugh as he clenched his palm. The deep blue flame rushed out of his palm. It slowly spread apart and completely wrapped around him. Looking from a distance, that black-robed man appeared just like a fire god, looking extremely mighty. Xiao Yang's eyes were dangerous. He inhaled a deep breath of air and a grayish-white-colored flame slowly rolled up his throat. Life transformation flame. A chill surged within Xiao Yang's eyes as he looked at this grayish-white flame in front of him. He immediately waved his hand, and he started to merge the 4 types of flames together in front of the stunned gaze of the black-robed person. Are you courting death? The expression of the black-robed person slightly changed. His body moved, and he transformed into a black shadow that shot towards Xiao Yang with lightning-like speed. The deep blue flame was swiftly gushing out of his palm. The speed of the black-robed man was extremely swift. He seemed to have merged with space as he had appeared in front of Xiao Yang the moment he moved. His hand was curled, and he carried a sharp force that ruthlessly grabbed at the top of Xiao Yang's head. Xiao Yang was just about to activate his 3000 lightning movement to dodge after sensing the black-robed person's sharp attack when a slight shattering sound suddenly resounded over the courtyard. Xiao Yang swept around, only to find that the invisible barrier that had covered the courtyard had been shattered into a countless number of tiny spiritual fragments. A vast aura suddenly swept down from the stars when the spiritual barrier was broken. At the same time, a calm voice that was filled with vicissitude slowly reverberated over this small courtyard. The territory of the Pill Tower is not one that will allow your Hall of Souls to act wildly. The face of that black-robed person immediately changed when this voice sounded. He lifted his head to look at the sky as he cried out in a hoarse voice, Shen Kongzi? This sudden unexpected change also surprised Xiao Yang. His eyes swiftly looked to the night sky above his head. However, it was completely empty. There was not a single person there. However, the vast, mighty aura spreading down caused him to feel some fear. It's someone from the Pill Tower. Xiao Yang sighed in relief within his heart. The extermination fire lotus he was merging quickly paused before he carefully scattered it. His toes pressed on the ground, and he swiftly pulled back. A clear long roar was also emitted. The clear roar had just sounded when 2 figures rushed over to the courtyard as fast as lightning. They had appeared beside Xiao Yang in an instant. At the same time, their eyes were furiously looking at the mysterious, black-robed person in the air. Are you all right? The little fairy doctor glanced at the messy courtyard. Her grayish-purple eyes stared at the black-robed person in an icy manner while her mouth asked a question full of concern. Xiao Yang shook his head and he replied with a deep voice, I'm all right. Be careful. This fellow is not an ordinary person. Tian Huazunja's face was a little ugly as he stared at the mysterious, black-robed person. He said with a cold smile, You are an elite dozun no matter how one puts it. Why are you sneaking about? At this moment, the hearts of the little fairy doctor and Tian Huazunja were undoubtedly furious. From the looks of the courtyard, it was obvious that it had just experienced a big battle. Moreover, the 2 of them did not sense a thing. The poor protection they provided would really cause one to feel ashamed. The mysterious, black-robed man remained suspended in the air. His sinister gaze flickered as he glanced at Xiao Yang. It was unexpected that the old fellows from the Pill Tower had managed to discover him despite him being so careful. His trace had already been locked onto by them. If he continued to stay any longer, it was likely that the experts from the Pill Tower would make it here soon. Shen Kongzi, this matter has nothing to do with your Pill Tower. Why must you bother in other people's business? The black-robed person cried out to the sky in a dark voice. This is Holy Pill City. If your Hall of Souls can randomly act atrociously in this place, how will my Pill Tower account to the public? The voice filled with a vicissitude slowly resonated from the sky. This time around, Xiao Yang could sense that this voice was emitted from empty space. Clearly, the person who had spoken had yet to arrive here. Instead, he was using a mysterious method to deliver his aura and deter this mysterious, black-robed person. Old bastard, the black-robed person clenched his teeth and softly cursed. After which, his dark, sinister eyes turned to Xiao Yang. He coldly said, "Consider yourself lucky. The heavenly flames and the chi method shall remain with you a little longer. Remember, I will take them back sooner or later." The space behind him instantly distorted after he spoke. His figure became partially visible because of the distorted space. "You wish to leave?" The little fairy doctor's eyes turned chilly when she saw this. A grey do chi lingered on her hand before suddenly transforming into a greyish pillar that quickly shot through the air, rushing toward the black-robed person. With the two of them protecting you, I am indeed unable to do anything to you. However, you will also not be able to stop me if I wish to leave." The black-robed man let out a cold laugh when he saw the little fairy doctor attempt to stop him. He flicked his finger and a wisp of a deep blue flame shot out of his finger. After which, it violently collided with her greyish do chi. Both of them destroyed each other. "Xiao Yang, I will come and look for you again. I will definitely take your heavenly flames and your chi method the next time we meet." A pair of dense eyes stared at Xiao Yang from under the black robe after that person easily blocked the little fairy doctor's woeful poison do chi. Immediately, the figure moved his body and entered the distorted space. The space rippled and his body disappeared. "I will await you." Xiao Yang's dark black eyes were scary. He could sense that this person was quite strong. However, if they were to engage in an all-out fight, Xiao Yang had the confidence that the other party would not be left in good shape. Damn it. The little fairy doctor involuntarily clenched her silver teeth and softly cursed after watching the black-robed person safely leave. "Forget it." Xiao Yang waved his hand. After which, he turned his eyes to the sky, cupped his hands together, and respectfully said, "Thank you, Elder, for lending a hand." The light of the stars in the sky suddenly agglomerated after Xiao Yang's voice sounded. The light transformed into a blurry, elderly light figure. The old voice filled with vicissitude was slowly emitted. "The old me cannot step away. The old me can only split my attention and act as a deterrence. This person is extremely mysterious. You should be more careful. If you have the time, you can come to the Pill Tower. You will be very safe there. Thank you, Elder." Xiao Yang once again cupped his hands together. This elderly light figure should be an expert from the Pill Tower. He might even be one of the legendary three great heads. I will naturally need to take good care of the disciple of an old friend. Be careful of the profound Shen sect. They were the ones who revealed information about you to that person earlier. The elderly light figure faintly smiled. After which, the starlight fluctuated and slowly scattered. Xiao Yang contemplated the situation as he studied the spot where the figure made of starlight had disappeared. It seemed that his teacher's relationship with these people from the Pill Tower was quite good. "Who is the one who attacked you earlier?" The little fairy doctor turned her head, looked at Xiao Yang, and asked a question with knit eyebrows. "Someone from the Hall of Souls." A cold glint flashed across his eyes as he softly replied. "This person's spiritual strength has reached the pinnacle." The spiritual lock that he used from such a close proximity deceived the little fairy doctor and me. Tianhua Zunja spoke with a solemn face. Xiao Yang nodded. He did not manage to see the appearance of the black-robed person since the very beginning. Moreover, the voice he had heard did not appear too old, yet based on what he had said, this person was an expert from the same generation as Yao Lao. According to common sense, he should also be one of those old men who would not die. His strength should be a little stronger than mine. However, if we were to go all out, he might not be able to defeat me. The little fairy doctor parted the black hair in front of her forehead as she said, "However, this profound Shen sect is really a source of trouble." Xiao Yang's expression was a little cold. He had forgotten about the conflict he had with that group of people a couple of days back. Most of the people from the profound Shen sect were people who would take revenge for any offense. It was impossible for them to simply leave things be. However, it was unexpected that they did not act personally. Instead, they had leaked information about him, using others to kill him. This tactic was really ruthless. Tomorrow, try to think of a way to learn the location of the people from the profound Shen sect. Being tracked by others with ill intent is not good. This trouble needs to be resolved, regardless of what kind of background they have. Since they have already climbed above my head, it is only natural that we cannot sit back and do nothing. Xiao Yang slowly said. The little fairy doctor nodded. The people from the profound Shen sect had come swinging at them. They could only blame themselves for being merciless. The one who has me the most worried is that black-robed person from earlier. We are unclear about his background. Xiao Yang's eyes slightly flickered. A moment later, his eyes coagulated. The sea heart flame is also in the hands of this person. Perhaps Han Feng knows a little information related to him. Xiao Yang suddenly clenched his hand when this thought flashed across his heart. A jade bottle appeared in his hand. His finger rubbed over the mouth of the bottle before emitting a suction force. An illusionary spiritual body rose up in an extremely weak manner. From the appearance of the spiritual figure, it was Han Feng. Who in the Hall of Souls did you gift your sea heart flame to? Xiao Yang glanced at this extremely weak Han Feng and asked with an icy voice. Han Feng was initially startled upon hearing Xiao Yang's question. Immediately, his eyes flickered. However, before he could say anything, an invisible flame rose on the tip of Xiao Yang's finger. It pierced toward the illusionary body lightning quick. Don't. I will speak. I will speak. Han Feng hurriedly cried out in shock upon seeing Xiao Yang's vicious, unhesitating tactic. The one who took my sea heart flame is an honorable elder in the Hall of Souls. People call him Old Mu Jiyu. His position in the Hall of Souls is quite high because he is a genuine tier 8 alchemist on top of being a dozun, and he is much valued by the Hall Chief of the Hall of Souls. Old Mu Jiyu. Xiao Yang uttered this name softly in his mouth. The coldness in his eyes became denser. It was indeed those bastards from the Hall of Souls. Old Mu Jiyu has an extremely deep, old grudge with Yarrow Chen. It is rumored that the both of them had the same teacher. However, due to some reason, Old Mu Jiyu was expelled. Therefore, he views Yarrow Chen with great enmity. He will find any opportunity to make trouble with Yarrow Chen. Back then, I was played by him when I attacked Yarrow Chen. He wanted me to quietly steal the flame mantra, Han Feng carefully revealed. What? Xiao Yang's expression involuntarily changed when he heard his words. This Old Mu Jiyu once had the same teacher as Yarrow Chen? Why is it that I have never heard teacher mention this? Xiao Yang asked in a deep voice. I have also never heard him mention it. This matter is something that Old Mu Jiyu occasionally mentioned to me, Han Feng hurriedly replied, afraid that Xiao Yang would attack him. Xiao Yang slowly nodded. If Han Feng's words were true, that mysterious, black-robed person from earlier should be Old Mu Jiyu. After all, there were very few people who knew about the flame mantra. Even some of those close to Xiao Yang were unaware of it. This person will never give up in order to get what he wants. He will definitely try his best to strike again. However, he would not dare to openly attack me with the strength currently beside me. There shouldn't be an issue if we are careful in the future. The pill gathering is about to begin. Right now, the plan is to get into the top 10 of the pill gathering and obtain the 3000 burning flame. At that time, I will no longer need to fear this old fellow even if I have to fight him alone the next time we meet. Xiao Yang's eyes twinkled. A moment later, he finally made up his mind. With a wave of his hand, he returned Han Feng's soul into the jade bottle and threw it into his storage ring. After which, he turned around and walked into his room. Find information on those people from the profound Xian sect tomorrow. Once is too many when it comes to such a thing. The little fairy doctor slowly nodded when she heard Xiao Yang's words filled with killing intent. She was aware that Xiao Yang had been truly angered this time around. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.